This is a man who has lived and defined the American dream. The Secretary of the Interior is a man who grew up poor and always saw this country as that place that he knew he could make dreams come true. And it's something his grandmother told him many, many times when they were going through very difficult times. And he always asked his grandma, Abuela, why is it that you always have a smile on your face as we go through life's biggest challenges? And she says, because I know that you are in this country, the greatest country on earth, and that you can reach your potential if you work hard. That's why I say the Secretary of Interior's job is to take care of our national treasure. Well, the Secretary of the Interior is a national treasure. And he is, for us Latinos, a shining star that we all look at when we need inspiration and when we need assistance. The door is always open. It's a privilege to introduce tonight's guest speaker, Secretary of the Interior, Ken Salazar.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jose Diaz-Balart. I would say that I'm a little humbled by that introduction because the fact of the matter is that the national treasure really is all of you and this LULAC organization that celebrates its 83rd birthday at this point in time. You know, I look around the room just as I was coming in, and I see many friends who have walked the long path of civil rights for more than half a century now, almost nearing a century. And many of you, I have been on that path for many years. I remember so often meeting with Brent Wilkes and having a conversation about the future of our country and the fact that we needed to move forward with immigration reform, and visiting so many of the LULAC chapters and places way back in my career when I was a young man. And today, LULAC is at the forefront of change, making sure that America remains a very strong country and representing the interests and aspirations of Latinos across the United States of America. I will not be long, and I don't intend to give you a long speech tonight, but I want to take the liberty. I know there are many people who I work with often who are very critical to the President and to the nation today. And I just want to introduce a few of them that I just saw coming in. So Luis Miranda, please stand up. You're over there. Luisito. Luisito, párate. Okay. Yeah, some people say, you stay standing. Yeah, I go to the White House, and the guy who is basically running the communication shop and making sure that everybody is getting on Telemundo, on Jose Diaz-Balart show, and on every other channel is Luis. And he's part of a Latino team in the White House that includes the first Latina ever to run the Domestic Policy Council, Cecilia Munoz. And I was so proud the other day that somebody sent me a picture, and it was these wise Latinas who work in the White House. And one of them is Julie Rodriguez, who worked in my office running the youth office, and now she's in the White House. And Stephanie Valencia, who used to be my press secretary, who's now the press secretary, sitting up there with the President of the United States and so many other people. And Felicia Escobar, who's working on immigration and a number of other issues, married to Francisco Carrillo, who is standing over here to my left from San Antonio, Texas, Margaret Moran. and so many other wonderful people, including some of my staff who are here tonight, besides Francisco, Jonathan Adler, and Faye Evans, and Jenny Saravia, and Lucinda Peña, who are working on so many of the things that I work on. Let me just make a couple of comments, which I think are so important. The last time that I was here at LULAC, it was right before we held a summit on Latino heritage in La Paz in California. And at that place, what we did is we brought together the park superintendents and so many other people from around the country to basically make one point. The first point is that Latino heritage was something which this country had forgotten, which essentially I found out at a point in time where I asked the National Park Service to give me their roadmap for the celebration of the Latino history and Latino heritage. And what I ended up getting was a book which had been written in very good faith by the National Park Service that essentially showed that our history stopped in about 1835. So no one got to the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848, and much less did they get to the founding of LULAC or to the founding of the American GI Forum in 1948. Nor did they celebrate the great involvement of so many of our veterans in the Vietnam War and in the Iraq generation, and so many other things that are so important to our community. So what we did out of that summit in La Paz is we have formed a Latino Heritage Initiative in the National Parks Foundation, where we hope to, by June of this year, to roll out what will essentially be the roadmap for the celebration of Latino heritage within our National Park Service. Now, why is that so important? It's so important because the history and heritage of every community is so important. So yes, I have been honored to have been the Secretary of the Interior that signed the permit and got the Martin Luther King Memorial done on the National Mall, because it's important to celebrate civil rights. And I'm proud of the fact that under this President, Barack Obama, he signed the executive order that made Fort Monroe a national park, which marks the beginning and the end of slavery in the United States of America. And I'm proud of the fact that under this president, he has celebrated the involvement and participation of Japanese Americans, including the commemoration and remembrance of what happened with the Japanese internment camps, and so many other things that are so important. So as we tell that story, and as my job as Secretary of Interior, and its mission is to be custodian, yes, of America's natural resources, and I spend a good amount of time on that, I'm also the custodian of America's history. And yet, when I look at the history of my own department today, I'm always reminded of the fact that only 3% of all of the national historic landmarks, that is the highest designation that you give to people and places that are important to these United States of America, that only 3% honor women, Native Americans, African Americans, and Latinos combined. So we, in this administration under President Obama, are going to change that, because we believe in an inclusive America. It's a conversation I had with the president, even when we were both in the United States Senate. And he understands it, because he gets it, that in order to have a strong and prosperous America, that we need to make sure that we are celebrating diversity, that we are not just tolerating diversity. And that's what he does every day. That's what I do every day within the Department of Interior, making sure that when I look around that table that gives me advice on the most important issues, on defining the future of the Arctic, the future of oil and gas in the Gulf, the future of our national park system, our wildlife refuge systems, that what I look at is a group of diverse people who sit around that table. And so when I think about people like Cecilia Munoz and Hilda Solis and Luis Miranda and so many others, that's what's happening also today in the White House. So let me just conclude by saying this. LULAC has brought us a long ways. Margaret, you should be very proud of this organization and all that it's done, and all of you from all the different chapters from all over the country. Yeah, I'm always reminded of what Sandra Day O'Connor said in that famous opinion in the University of Michigan case, in which I, as Attorney General, led 23 attorneys general in filing a brief in that case to uphold the diversity plan and the affirmative action plan at the University of Michigan Law School. Sandra Day O'Connor, in what became a 5-4 decision, which is still guiding our diversity action plans across the country, said in one of the most important paragraphs of that opinion that diversity was very important to the United States of America for its national security and national defense. And for that proposition cited the brief that had been filed by former members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And in the next sentence, she said that celebrating diversity in a diverse America was also important for the global economy that we enter. And so when you think about Sandra Day O'Connor in that opinion, looking at America and our strengths and our global economic power, she was speaking as well to the fact that we have now 50+ million Latinos in the United States of America. And for this country to be strong, for this country to continue to lead the world, it is absolutely imperative that the entire Latino community be integrated into the fabric of the boardrooms and the courtrooms and the political halls of power. And LULAC has been at the forefront, at the point of the spear in making that happen. So continue that march. I will be with you all the way. Tanto que los quiero, y como dice César Chávez, como decía César Chávez, sí sabemos que se puede hacer, sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede. Mil gracias.